Hello, everybody. Hello, my friends. It's good to see you. Good to see your smiling faces. And I'm so glad to be here with you today for Ask Me Anything, which is just a crazy topic. It's fun to gather together, and as we do, let's open the sacred anatomy field. So let's open the field we all share together and bring in the sacred anatomy angels to support us as we connect and communicate. My name is Desda Zuckerman, and I'm the founder of Sacred Anatomy Energy Medicine, the author of Your Sacred Anatomy and Owner's Guide to the Human Energy Structure. And all of that represents about 60 years of work. So, so there you go. It's really great to see you guys, and I love being able to see you physically so that when you ask questions or when we're doing any process we might do together, who knows, it could happen, I get to see your energy. So that is a wonderful thing. So as we get started, there's already some great questions in the chat. So Cheryl, can you start us off with those first questions?
I'd be delighted to, and we still have a lot of people joining. So this first question is all the way from Chislen in the Netherlands. Good to have her with us. She says her question is about the primal layer. What is exactly your ancient tribe, your family of origin, or the family of your heart?
That's a lovely question, and let's just put it in context. Cheryl, can you show a picture of the primal layer, please? So we have, one of the things I've done through the years is draw pictures of what I see around everybody. So we all have this primal layer, and the bottom is instinct. The next strata up is what we call legacy. The next one is DNA, or the base components of life. And then the top is tribe, clan, your people, and it might not always be the people you're born into. It might be the choice that you've made to become part of a different tribe. So you can come back to me now, Cheryl. So the question that's being asked is about the primal layer, which I just showed you. And the primal layer is one of the 8 layers of the human energy structure, and these are the organs of the subtle structure. So the primal organ is essentially the building blocks, the base. And we are part of larger community. There's always a source, right? Your mother, your father, your grandparents, and those people often are the tribe. And then there's people who are a little different. Maybe they don't stay with their biological tribe. They kind of move the biological tribe into a second position, and they take a more aggressive interest in choosing their own tribe, and they become part of a religious group, or they become part of a community that holds a particular belief system. And we are seeing a huge tribal kind of warfare happen between right and left here on the planet at this time. People who have different beliefs from each other and who've tribalized around it. Instead of being the tribe of community connection and collaboration, we've become separate or segmented. So there is actually a malfunction occurring in the tribal strata of the human species right now. So we all have the potential to kind of sign up for a new group, a new tribe. And that doesn't always require leaving your old tribe, which would be your natal family. Sometimes it's an expansion. Sometimes you meet friends or neighbors who become like brothers and sisters. They become closer, maybe an auntie, and someone you go to for advice and reaction, response. Someone who gives you just the right words at just the right moment because they care. And that's sort of the definition of tribe. Now, we have an ancient sort of historical tribe, and that would be basically defined in biology by our genetics, right? So if you come from a long line of Irish folks, you may have the effects of the Irish famine held in literally in your genetics. If you have your genetics have brought you from Africa, and you came as a slave to this country, your genetic line came that way. You're carrying that trauma in your genetics. So people are the product of their ancestors and their ancestors' trauma, their ancestors' fears, their ancestors' difficulties with obtaining food and shelter. So it's helpful in some ways when we look around at the tribe of people that live around us, when we see someone begging, someone homeless, or little children sitting with their mother on the street while she's literally begging for food. If we can remember that this is our tribe and that they deserve our care, concern, and support, I think it's important to remember always that heritage and genetics are not the only thing that define us. We're also defined by the cultures that we live in. So if you in a past life lived in ancient Rome, you practice ancient Roman practices, you ate certain kinds of food, you lived in a city and a culture that was very warlike and that had a tremendous influence from the army, the various armies as they came and went through the city. It's important to realize that if you lived in a time of great unrest, if you lived during a time of great warfare, you were impacted by it, and your genetic line will be impacted by it. Those of us that grew up with parents who went through depression, or even grandparents who went through the depression, we are imprinted with that memory of scarcity and lack, and there's a kind of deep fear that comes along with that. So when you're doing your own personal work, it's helpful to remember that you need to do cultural cleanup, that you need to also release the terrible decisions that your ancestors made. You know, I've met many people who've fled war and apartheid. I've met people in my life who have been oppressed and wounded and hurt. And every time I've met those people, I feel the impact of not only their issue, but the issues of their ancestors and the issues of the culture. So we represent, when we think of the word tribe, we really have to remember that it's much larger than we allow ourselves to think about. There's a kind of limit on how many people you can actually have in your community. Like maybe around 150 is what scientists have determined. But the truth is that we're on a planet with billions of people, and we are in the process of defining who and what the contemporary human is, and where we will go, and if we will do it together, if we will do it as a tribe. And so I think it's important, as more of us become awakened, as more of us experience moments of enlightenment and clarity, that we use that power, that energy that's generated by those extraordinary experiences, to embrace the culture of humanity, to share ourselves in such a way that we are allowing the deep growth of our brothers and sisters to occur while we're experiencing ours. So I think that when we look at the ancient, the ancient memories of our own primal layer, that's what we're looking at, all those things. So what's the next question? Good one.
All right. Well, this comes from Elisa, and we'll come back to Ghislaine's second question, but I want to cover everybody. And this is a reminder, if you have a question, please feel free to put it into the chat, and we will do our best to get everybody's questions answered today. So from Elisa, she's asking about panic attacks. What is the most compromised system in sacred anatomy energy medicine? And what are the most appropriate procedures to heal a client that experiences a panic attack, especially after leading events or work meetings with many people?
That's the electromagnetic field. And it's really, really important to realize what the electromagnetic field actually is. It is the seat of the ego, the seat of personality. It's that greater sense of the uniqueness and specialness of you. And that has a lot to do with the development of our ability to partner with the divine source. You cannot partner with divine source without a strong electromagnetic field. It's called the aura in some other kinds of teachings. And we look at it as part of the anatomy. It's actually one of the 7 systems. The electromagnetic field's job, in many ways, is to take the impulse of the deeper soul information and carry it, filtering it through the personality out into the world. If you have somebody who has panic attacks, my experience is that panic attacks don't come from overwhelm, they come from undernourished. So people who have panic attacks, generally speaking, do not have access to enough energy. And so they become really panicked. And when I say energy, I don't mean, electromagnetic, even though we're looking at an electromagnetic field. I mean subtle energy. So subtle energy is source energy. And that beautiful subtle energy comes to us as sort of our birthright. We receive all kinds of energies, the energy of clarity, the energy of sanctuary, the energy of universal love and light, the energy of the rose red light of love. All of these energies are source energies, and they come from the mind and the heart of the divine source, which is a massive consciousness that fills the universe. So all these energies come from this source, and we receive these energies to support us. If for some reason you are blocked from receiving energies, panic attack will ensue. So it's kind of a part of really staying healthy emotionally and psychologically, to continue to develop your relationship with source energies. Those of us that are artists or musicians or dancers or creative thinkers of any kind. I mean, I'm talking gardeners and cooks too. So everybody, you know, we have this experience really of feeling the flow, feeling the divine move through us when we do something spectacular, we design a new earring, or or write a little, even a commercial for television. The divine source is this creative force that moves through us, and so we become acquainted with that, and we become awakened to that, and we become attuned to it. And when that goes away, it can be distressing, it can be upsetting. So I have two things I tell people to do pretty regularly. One is every single day do something creative. I don't care if you think you're creative or not. It doesn't matter. Every single day, stretch yourself to do something creative. Write something. And just thinking about it doesn't count. You actually have to do something with your physical body. Do something creative. Plant a plant. Design a flower arrangement, make a new meatloaf, whatever it is that is put in front of you, bring that creative spirit to it, and that will dial down any form of anxiety or stress or confusion. That will take it down a notch. The other thing that you really need if you're experiencing regular panic attacks is you really need an electromagnetic reset. So your whole electromagnetic field is most likely compromised. And one of the things we've done with Sacred Anatomy Energy Medicine is we've developed procedures to rebuild the electromagnetic field, to clear the electromagnetic field, to charge the electromagnetic field, and to strengthen the electromagnetic field's containing membrane so that it's possible to have a fully functional electromagnetic field that has all the correct energies. There is an energy called human electromagnetic field radiance that actually rebuilds the electromagnetic field. And you can see it happening with people. They come in and they're lackluster and flopping around, and you rebuild that electromagnetic field. They sit up in their chair, they have a little bit more presence of mind. The electromagnetic field is the only part of the sacred anatomy, apart from the physical body, that is made of electromagnetic energy. And so when we stop producing electromagnetic energy at death, the electromagnetic field dissipates. It actually separates and leaves. So we have the use of an electromagnetic field while we're cruising through life. We can use it. And it's constantly shifting, constantly changing. And you may have seen Kirlian photographs. You may have had the experience of seeing auras yourself. How many of you guys have had the experience of seeing an aura? Yeah. Hi, Barb. Hello, Fred. Hi, Fee. All right. Hey, Abby. So more people than, people don't go around with a big stamp on their forehead saying, I see auras, but it happens much more than we are aware of in our culture, because it's become not okay to share extra information that you might get or feel or see or know. And this can also lead to panic attacks. One of the things that I've seen with super sensitive people is they become very panicked when their sensitivities become so heightened. And they do things like hide out in their house, don't go to Target or the big box stores because they don't want to be exposed to lots of people. Don't go to concerts or other events where there's lots of people because those people are going to get on me. I'm not going to be safe. So for this, we've developed a skill called the edge. And the edge is basically the consciousness that is allowed us when we take ownership of our sacred anatomy, when we take ownership of everything we are, our soul structure. And that's really what we're talking about. We're talking about the structure of soul consciousness, and that is what's around us. Not just the reflective electromagnetic field, which is reflective of the body's health and vitality, but also this sacred anatomy, which is out 20 feet in all directions and is large. We're much bigger, we're much more than we think we are. Okay, so let's go on. Is there another question, Cheryl?
Yes, this is the second question from Chislen. She says, are all souls or human energy structures the same age? And how do you know the age of a human energy structure? And are there new souls born? And what is the ending of the structure? Back to source again? And I can start the questions from the start if you'd like me to.
I'm going to just run at this.
Okay.
Hopefully. And who's this from?
She's Lynn.
Oh, hello again. Hello, sweetheart. Great. Okay, so we are not all born at the same second. We are not all born at the same one moment. The soul, which is the big capital S soul, which is the consciousness of the universe, is constantly creating. And so there are always new beings that are coming into form. And then there are beings that cross over from other types of life form. One of the ones that's been very interesting to find is this doesn't happen with angels, but it does happen with fairies. So fairies have been crossing over into human form for several hundred years now, and it's been very interesting to watch that evolution. You know a fairy when you when you meet them because they have a different orientation, and they have a kind of feral nature. They're different, and I think I've had a theory for a while, and of course it's not proven, but it's just my theory, which is the extent of autism that we're seeing in our culture today is related to beings crossing over from either the fairy realm or other realms to inhabit the human dimension. Everybody's worried about us. All the unseen beings are concerned about the human species. We're a bit of a mess. And, and so a lot of them have started incarnating into this world. Angels will never incarnate into physical form. So if someone's walking around saying they're an angel, don't believe them, because they can't. They simply cannot do it. It probably kill them. So there's a quality of denseness that we have. Paramahansa Yogananda, as I have often quoted, says that matter is nothing more than congealed light. So as you take material form, and if you translate over from a different realm, you have to densen up, get denser and denser and denser and congeal. So that's why I say angels can't do that. Their frequency is radically high. Deities don't generally do that, although occasionally a deity will walk among us. We are fortunate because we get to come to this place, this earth school, this world that we inhabit together, and we get to share growth, we get to share change, and we get to contribute. And at a certain point, when you've done enough personal growth, you have developed to an evolutionary state where you're giving back. And that's really what your job is, to give back. And so in every setting, you're giving back all the time. You're constantly working to give back in your own way, and not tear down or break down the fabric of other people's natures. you're trying to live by doing no harm. So this is a more enlightened awareness. And we see lots and lots of people on the planet today really working to be that way. This is a very highly evolved time. We have many, many people on this planet now who are enlightened. It's not just one or two folks walking around like it was in the 1400s. It's different. There's a lot of them squirreling around, and yet it's not seeming to make it easier, is it? So there's still this struggle, there's still this stress that we're undergoing, and that's because of the friction and the growth that we're experiencing. The resistance occurs as we develop. Pretty much, anytime you say to a little kid, think of a 3 or 4-year-old, would you like macaroni and cheese or peanut butter and jelly? No, is the answer. So the more choice you give people, the more resistance they give you, sometimes is the case. So we're really seeing this as the development of the human species continues. We are not all born at the same time. We do not all die at the same time. Some of us depart, some of us leave. We leave the wheel of karma and we step off into the void and become one with eternal consciousness. And that is something that people strive for. The monastic world is a place where people go to learn how to do that. And in every single religion, in every single culture, there's a way to become one with the divine, whichever divinity you're looking at. There's a way to find that. So I think the answer to your complex question, really, Ghislaine, is that we are constantly developing and growing, and some of us choose to stay longer than we need to help everybody else. In the Tibetan Buddhist paradigm, there's a thing called the Bodhisattva, and the Bodhisattva is the being who reaches enlightenment, but instead of becoming one with the void, one with the allness, one with the consciousness of the universe, that being will say, no, I'll stay, I'll keep coming back over and over again to be with this illiterate, unconscious species called human beings. And so they keep coming back. And so there's a lot of bodhisattvas on this planet right now, maybe even some in this call right now. So I hope I answered your question. It was a very broad question. So, all right, is there another one in the chat?
Yes, we do. And for those people who may be new to the call, this is a reminder that you can put your questions into the chat. You can raise your hand in the Zoom function, or maybe even later in the call, if you haven't figured that out, you can just kind of wave your hand and Desda will call on you to share questions. So all those different ways that you can have your question addressed. And this next question comes from the chat, and it is from Chenson. And she says, our cognitive layer is magical. My understanding is that we can't, number one, access our medical intuition through one of the strata in this layer, as well as two, rebuilding light body versions of our organs, for example, using this layer. She has a third question, but I'll let you take. She says about planting, 4 questions actually, planting new ideas, addressing phobias using this layer. Can you address whether each of these would be approached slightly differently?
So for the last little bit, yes, they're approached slightly differently. That's where we're going to start. So let's look at the cognitive layer. Let's share a picture of the cognitive layer. Now remember, the layers are the organs of the sacred anatomy, and the cognitive layer doesn't mean thought or brain. It is using the second definition of the word cognate, which is like. So the cognitive layer is like the brain of the sacred anatomy. So the organs are accessed at the bottom. The next strata is the structural stratum. And then the third one is systems. So these are all systems, subtle and material. And then finally, we have another strata that's called the point of transmutation. So Chetan is speaking to, and I'm going to take this in sort of two batches. If we want to work with the human spine, we can do it by going into the structural stratum that is within everyone's structure has this. And in fact, Cheryl, can you show us a picture, a composite of the layers so we can actually see where it sits in the layers? So this is kind of like the brain of the sacred anatomy. And because the sacred anatomy is malleable and reformable and takes impressions from all kinds of places, there's a way to go into one of those three strata that are, or stratum rather, that are separated. If you look here, you can see the turquoise. That's the cognitive. And there are 4 different colors of turquoise there. And each one of them is impactful and it basically gives us a door into the function, the purpose, and the sort of rejuvenation of the part of the physical body that we want to look at, the part of the sacred anatomy we want to look at. And it allows us to, help with rebuilding damage, repairing injury, restoring hope to a part of the structure that may have sort of lost hope. And we can do things like rejuvenate the light in a part of the body. So those are the photons, the biophotons inside of our organs can be rejuvenated by entering one of these little doorways. Let's go back to that other picture, Cheryl. So we can walk into the doorway. Now, obviously, there are procedures of how to do this. There's a functional step-by-step way that this occurs. And so let's go back to the spine here. That's in the structural. You can see the human spine laying on its side with the rib cage and the pelvis and everything. So let's say we want to work with L4, L5, which is, right where your waist is. That's where you bend all the time. And it's always problematic for people. And so let's look at that. And it's below the rib cage and above the pelvis, kind of right in the middle there. So if we're looking at L4, L5, and we've got maybe a pinched disc or a plump disc, or we've got some kind of difficulty, we can enter into that area. We can build a thought. This is all sacred anatomy, energy medicine. We can build a thought form. If you're a practitioner, you know how to do this. You can blow up the thought form, and then you can interact with that part of the anatomy that has been injured, perhaps in a whiplash accident, or just you have crappy muscles and your spine is curving down, so there's all kinds of things that we can do, and there are specific instructions for all of those that practitioners learn in Prac 3 and Prac 4. There's a lot of that. So I've trained lots of people to be practitioners, and there's a bunch of them on the call, and it's fun to get nerdy and talk about these really great details. One of them is done with the cognitive layer. And in fact, we can do that right now in your cognitive layer. So are you ready to do this? This is kind of a fun little exercise. If you don't want to participate, you don't have to, but it might be fun for you to take something that's in your cognitive layer, which is an idea or concept, a belief, or an attitude that has influenced your development. So let's say you have a personality trait of, pick one that you'd rather not have. Being more decisive, or maybe not being so harsh or judgmental, or maybe being more open to new ideas. So somewhere growing in that Garden of Eden, that is the point of transmutation, is a weed. And that weed is that part of you that you would like to change. So first, I want you to close your eyes and think about some sort of personality trait that you might want to change or improve. And now what we're going to do is we're going to walk into your own personal Garden of Eden. So you're going to take a deep breath, and we're going to begin to journey way in. So we're going way into the inner part, your inner sanctum, that part of you that is your soul's expression, and that takes all input and turns it into some part of you. So when you were a little child, maybe you had somebody who called you little stinky, and since then you've been worried about how you smelled. So we're going to go into a place in your Garden of Eden where there's a weed or something growing, an unfortunate plant in your Garden of Eden. There are no animals there, there's plants. So go into your Garden of Eden and find that weed that is representative of the part of your personality that you'd like to shift, the part of your presentation in the physical world that is not in alignment with your soul. Part of you that alienates other people and pushes them away, that gets stinky or difficult or angry. See if you can find that weed. Sometimes they're huge, like a tree, and sometimes they're just small. And when you've found your weed, I want you to kneel down in front of it and thank it. Thank you for doing exactly what I asked you to do. Thank you for bringing me this information and this way of being. Thank you for helping me in my life. And now I'm ready to make a change. So you can say all of that out loud. I'm ready to make a change. So put your hands around the weed and pull it out by the roots. And if you need to, you can get a shovel. There's always tools right around you. So whatever tool you might need to get that weed out, get all the roots out and pull it up. So right now there's a couple of options. You can put it into the wood chipper and spread the weed around as fertilizer or as mulch in your garden, or you can throw it into the sun and evaporate it. So take that weed, roots and all, and dispose of it. And now put out your hand, hold out your hand, and ask for seeds of contentment, peace, happiness, well-being. Ask for those seeds and put those seeds into the hole there in your garden. and cover them with dirt. And then ask the angels to rain healing waters on your seeds. And watch while those plants sprout and begin to transmit to you peace, tranquility, well-being, health, and all the good things that you want to have in your life so that you can be of service to the benefit of all. And now allow that beautiful bush that's growing, it may be flowering, it may have beautiful green leaves, it may look spiky, it may look all different ways, but allow it to take root within you and bring that awareness to your physical body. Bring that plant into yourself to nurture you, to nourish you, to give you a sense of positive recovery and awakened awareness. Take a deep breath and allow yourself to pick the fruit of that plant. If you want to eat some of it, that's okay. If you want to pick flowers and put them in a vase, that's okay. And you can feel the benefit of this new belief, this new concept, this new idea coming to life within you. So this was a meditation for your own personal evolutionary development. You can change it in any way that you like. Take a deep breath and give thanks to all creation for this moment. We bring in universal love and light for everybody. If you choose not to receive it, you do not have to. Universal love and light is just surrounding you in health and well-being. We bring in the harmonizing energy, harmonizing the layers, because we've used the layers for this meditation, this visualization. Then we bring in the energies of blending and integration. And now we begin to take ownership. So I want you to take a deep breath and say, I accept the possibility that I'm okay. And once more, I accept the possibility that I am strong and powerful and good. And breathing into your heart, I accept the possibility that I am whole. And we bring stabilizing energies in for everybody, just completely stabilizing you. More integration, a little more blending. So that was a way that we can use the cognitive layer. And the point of transmutation is a lot of fun because there are all kinds of bells and whistles there. There's all kinds of information for us there. And one of those things is this little Garden of Eden place where we can pull out those early beliefs that came about because of other people calling you names or bullying you in the schoolyard or telling you you weren't worth anything. And those kinds of beliefs sink in. Children are like Velcro. Everything sticks to them. So this is a way to kind of pull that unpleasant, disastrous consequence that occurred because someone called you a name or treated you in a particular way when you were young. This is a way you can take that apart. All right, so let's take another question.
This next question is from Elise Tannenbaum, and she asks, where do you see seizures in sacred anatomy, energy medicine, in the sacred
Oh,
anatomy?
yeah. Well, I actually see seizures are interesting. I mean, they're not fun when you're having one, but they are a very interesting permutation. They're basically an electromagnetic screw up. They're a misfiring. And so there are ways that we can work with seizures. There are ways that we can slow them down, dial them down, pull them back. But inevitably, you have to work with a good neurologist who's diagnosing you, who's assessing you. Anyone who has seizures needs to see a competent neurologist. And of course, finding a competent neurologist can take some work. You don't want to just be medicated off the bat. You want to know why you had a seizure. And if there's absolutely no way to discover why, then be hesitant about accepting assessment, diagnosis, and medication right off the bat. Ask lots of questions. Your brain is plastic, it's very malleable. If it's damaged during a seizure, a lot of times the neural pathways will reorder themselves and try to find a better way to get through the, 3 pounds of gray matter. But it is important to realize that it's usually an electrical conduction issue. Sometimes people have seizures because they're allergic to something. People have seizures for lots and lots and lots of different reasons. They do not have seizures because their soul is impure. That's just not true. They do not have seizures because they aren't sophisticated, awake, and aware. They do not have seizures because they've given up and decided to just die. This is not why people have seizures. People have seizures because there's something wrong with the electrical current in their brain. Seizures are the effect of lots of different things. They can be the effect of an injury. You can have a head injury and then have a seizure. You can have a super, super traumatic event and have a seizure. So in those cases, there may be other things that would be done for a person with the kind of seizure. So there's lots of types of seizures, lots of ways that seizures occur. There's grand mal and petit mal. There's many other kinds of seizures, and they happen for lots and lots of different reasons. So when you're looking for a physician to help you unravel your seizure, you want to look for somebody who's curious. You don't want to just go to somebody who's going to rubber stamp you and say, well, it's petit mal epilepsy, boom, we don't know why you've got it. So this is not enough information. So I urge people who are struggling with seizures or any other kind of neurological event to keep going looking at neurologists. Shop for a neurologist who is actually going to connect with you, who's going to do the right testing, and who's going to care for you. And at the same time, find an energy medicine practitioner, preferably sacred anatomy energy medicine practitioner, who can work with you to coordinate whatever is happening medically. So whenever we're dealing with really profound medical events, whether it be a heart attack or a stroke or yes, it is. I'm reading this since polyvagal theory. I discovered there is a PTSD piece. Absolutely. Anytime we have a radical trauma to the brain, which is what a seizure is for sure, then it affects the capacity of the entire nervous system to function. And the vagus nerve, which is one of the big guys, right, has trouble functioning correctly. People who've had strokes sometimes have the vagal vagus nerve response of fainting when they become nervous or upset. And this is a neurological reaction. They're not doing it to get attention. So it's really important to understand that we have these physical bodies, and our physical bodies need physical care sometimes. But you cannot ignore the spiritual side. You have to also have spiritual healing as well as physical healing. I hope that's helpful, Elise. Okay, so where are we in our questions?
Here we go. Elisa asks, if there's a time I have a more technical question on cognitive intuition in a medical reading. When we want to read, for example, a client's liver health, do we activate and read with our cognitive film in the historical liver in their organ strata, tuning into their actual liver, or do we travel with their cognitive film to the liver in their physical body and read from there?
I would do all of those things. I would do all of those things. So Elisa is speaking about, she's asking a question about basically how to do a medical intuitive reading, how to do medical intuitive work, the sacred anatomy version of that. So we use the anatomy, and that's what we do. I would do all of those things. If I'm dealing with somebody who has, a severe liver issue, I would look into the history. I would look into the present presentation of the physicality, and then I would also look into the spiritual light body version of the liver. I would look into all of those things. But where would I work? Where would I actually work is the light body. That's where I would work. Yeah. Good question, Elise. Yes, yeah, I like these questions. Go ahead. Do another one.
All right. Well, this is from Barbara Short. She says schizophrenia involves loss of gray matter, disruption in white matter connecting, enlarged ventricles, abnormal synaptic pruning, imbalances in neurotransmitters, and dysfunctions in network connections. All that being said, I have a young client with schizophrenia supposed to take his meds and wondering how I can apply SAEM. I have ideas, wondering about specific energies that would be best for supporting as well.
I would focus on the blue light of healing, because this is schizophrenia is a lifelong chronic condition. This is not something that you're going to see healed particularly. You may see the person become functional, and that's kind of your goal, and that's the medical goal as well. So attune all medications, help to steer them away from radical interventions in the brain, and support them with the blue light of healing. Sometimes people with like really dramatic diagnoses come out of it when they're experiencing enough healing blue light. So the blue light of healing is one of the rainbow lights, and it's very, very powerful. When we bring in the blue light of healing, it's the medicine Buddha blue. It's the blue aura of Archangel Raphael. It's a powerful, powerful, it's the energy of Krishna. So it's this beautiful blue light that crosses through all religions, all faiths, all belief systems, and brings us to this point of rebooting with healing. So do this with anyone who has got any kind of brain issue. The blue light of healing is one of the most important things that you can call on, and anybody can call on the blue light of healing. It's not restricted to people who've had training. You might be better at it if you've had training, but you can still call on it if you haven't. And that wonderful blue light of healing is iridescent. It's a deep blue. It's, an exceptional color. And it radiates throughout the body as well as throughout the brain. And you can put this into any part of the brain that is injured. For parts of the brain that have been destroyed or damaged, you can rebuild those parts out of light. You can rebuild them out of universal love and light and then move that light into the brain. Don't attempt this without training. It is something that you do need to be trained to do, but you can rebuild the brain. It's pretty interesting to see what we can do. We can do all kinds of things. We're only limited by our imagination and our creativity. That's it. That's what our limit is. So, thanks for the question, Barbara. That was a good one. What else have we got?
There's nothing more in the chat. I do
great.
have a question, Desda, myself.
Oh, okay.
Since we're talking a lot about the brain and our neurology, I was wondering, since you taught the gut-brain connection piece, have you seen that improve people's either digestion and or brain function?
Yeah, I have. So there's this line between our brain and our gut. And sorry about that. And that line is, it's like a conduit between the gray matter and then the matter in the intestines. The interior of the intestines are the same matter as the gray matter of the brain. So we think in terms of a gut brain and a head brain. We really have two brains, maybe more, but at least two. And so we've developed a procedure of connecting those two things, and it's actually very easy to do if you'd like to just do it with me. Anybody up for doing that? Would you like to do that? Okay, it's really simple. I'm going to push back from where I'm sitting here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stick my light fingers into my brain and know that there's absolutely no harm that can come to you. Take a deep breath and connect the brain and the gut, and just pushing my light fingers into my gut. And then I connect the gut to the brain. And then brain to gut. And that's it. So if you have a little routine you do in the morning where you breathe or you do exercise, you might consider adding that very simple little brain to gut connection. And the thing about a lot of energetic little tweaks like that is they seem ridiculously easy. Like, are you kidding me? How could this possibly help me? Try it yourself and see what happens. I note that I have greater mental clarity when my brain and my gut are connected, because I think I get more information from my gut than I do from my actual brain. I get more like insight from my gut. What do you think? Do you? Yeah, that's cool. All right. If there's another question or comment or whatever, please raise your hand and we'll jump in. Okay. So here's Elise. I don't know if my window of tolerance, how can sacred energy medicine help safely regulate the
autonomic nervous system?
You have to be careful if you have seizures. And it's important to know that anything can kind of set them off. So if you have epilepsy, for example, it needs to be well modulated before you attempt sacred anatomy energy medicine. And that is true for any subtle work. So you should be a person who's gone through the medical route and has figured out what to do and is managing their seizures. Then we can take you and we can look at ways we can increase the viability of medications through attunement, and how we can suggest to your body that it shift how it handles things. So there can be a very slow, kind of gentle process. And I urge my students to work very carefully with people who've had seizures, because I'm interested in not having any negative reactions. The same is true for people who have neurological disorders such as bipolar disorder. Bipolar disorder is a very difficult thing to work with. And I don't recommend that beginning practitioners work with anybody who has bipolar disorder. It's very difficult to work with. So it's important to understand that the person you're dealing with is hyper sensitive. So bipolar, seizures, someone who's just out of the hospital after a stroke, someone who's had a heart transplant perhaps, all these people would be considered very delicate. And so we work very gently. We start with just a single energy, just one energy. How do you absorb that? How do you take that in? Does it cool down your autonomic nervous system? Does it make you feel more relaxed? Here's a really good way you can tell if subtle energy will work for you. And it's just by taking 3 deep breaths. If 3 deep breaths allow your body to calm down, probably energy work will be okay. If 3 deep breaths agitate you, we've got to look at why. Does that answer your question well enough? Okay, great. Absolutely. Thank you for asking that. Okay, have we got another question in the group?
Not in the chat.
Okay.
And if this is a reminder, if something is bubbling up inside of you, just raise your hand now, either in the screen or with the Zoom application, and Desda can call on you.
Yeah, I think it would be great to just say, just ask you how you're feeling after we did the brain gut stuff. How does that sit for you? Do you notice a distinct difference? Do you feel better? Do you feel calmer? Megan has given us a thumbs up. All right. Hey, Megan, can I ask you to come on and explain how it shifted you? It would be interesting to hear. Hi, Megan. Come off your mute. Yeah.
As I'm actually in the middle of packing up and moving, so that's why I was off screen today.
Well, thanks.
So the brain gut is particularly relevant to me because I've had trouble with my gut for all my life, if not most of my life. And when we did the exercise, I found it very calming, almost as if the separation is part of what underlies my current anxieties.
I think that's entirely possible, Megan. So I would urge you, if that was the reaction that you had, I would urge you to maybe do this little practice, which is like a nothing, do this little practice 2 or 3 times a day. And just see if the vibe chills out in your gut. Just see if things calm down. Now I personally know that you've had intervention in your gut, So yeah. So the truth of the matter is that you're still healing from that. It takes 7 years to really heal from a surgery. That's not what you're told. You're told like 3 months and you'll be up and at 'em. But it's really going to take about 7 years for a surgery to totally heal. And that's because your body has to remake cells. It has to readjust. It has to say, oh, well, this isn't connected to this anymore. This is doing something different. So your body is a slow mover because everything starts with light, but then it has to congeal, and it's that congealing that takes a long time. So this inspiration to your body and mind, to your gut and your head, your body brain gut connection, is just a really soft, subtle thing you can do to say to your gut, it's okay. Everything's okay. Yeah. Thanks for coming on. And gosh, you're moving. That's exciting. I want to hear more about that. Take care, Megan. Yeah. All right. Did any of you have an experience with that meditation that we did? Do you remember what happened for you during the meditation? Or did you already forget it? Anybody? Come on, Fred. Let's hear a little from Fred.
Well, I'm just appreciating, I think, the 3 or 4 things that we've experienced with your guidance today. What's coming strong is and I'm not remembering where it's placed because I'm just kind of in the flow here, but the blue light,
Mm-hmm.
the simplicity. What a blessing! The simplicity of the connecting the gut. I'm healing from gut issues, shall we say, major gut alterations, and all of that just gives a nice repose and a self-empowerment that I appreciate. So I'm grateful.
I thank you for sharing that. It's so wonderful to hear from people. What I would love to encourage you to do, Fred, is go to sleep in the blue light.
Yeah.
Like when you check out, just bring in that blue light of healing and just lay in it. Just marinate in the blue light and allow yourself to really feel it. And it goes into every single cell. And it sparks those little photons, So as you're going to sleep, floating on that beautiful light. That's a great way to go out.
Well, I'm ready to go back to bed just from that. So that's all.
No kidding. Me too.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Is there anyone else who would like to make a comment? Ghislaine, go right ahead.
Yes, about the meditation.
Yeah.
I have this thought about not being good enough. It's in all my life. So I went to this Garden of Eden and I saw this fungus. And I thought,
whoa.
Yeah, I think this is not good. So then you said, put it away. So I did. And then I threw it in the sun. And that felt really as a relief. And then we planted new seeds. And I found it so nurturing. So I'm happy.
Well, that's good. But a fungus, I love it. I love what people see in that moment, a spiky plant or, fungus. A fungus is great.
Yeah.
Spread all throughout.
Thank you. Yeah,
you're welcome. Well, thank you for sharing that. That's great. Okay, I think Marla is getting our attention. Go ahead, hon.
My husband wants to speak.
Oh, well, okay.
I just wanted to say the same thing the last person just said, which is the Garden of Eden, getting the weed out, I thought was very effective. And it applies, I'm going to apply it to myself directly. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. And thanks for saying that. That's Clyde that we're looking at. Yeah.
And I have one thing. I love the weed. I keep it. That's it.
Okay.
That's
All right.
Sorry. Keeping the weed.
But there's no reason why you can't love the weed.
Exactly.
The weed can be great,
It is great. I love it. It's one of my best things.
Well, there you go. Then there's no reason to go to it as a, something you want to change.
We had someone come to our house with the beautiful yellow weeds. They're little flowers that come in the spring, the clover. And she said, oh, those are weeds up there. And they were so beautiful. And we loved them so much. So I think weeds are great. I love it.
I do too. I like the dandelions are especially tasty.
Exactly. Totally.
Thank you, Marla.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have a comment or share? I'd love to hear from some more people. Ah, Elizabeth Poole, go right ahead, madam.
My weed, by the way, I'm a gardener and I adore weeds also. They bring the bees, but my weed was something I did not want. Okay. In my Garden of Eden, it was a very small, unassuming bush. Oh my gosh, it was so deeply rooted. Oh my gosh, I had such trouble getting it out. So the new seeds, I wasn't sure it was out. So I dug another hole next to that to put the new seeds in because I just thought there'd be a perpetual struggle. So I'm still working on removing that weed.
I love it. Yeah, I mean, sometimes you have in the middle of your garden, you have a thistle growing, and it's not what you want in that part of the garden. So you get to change it.
Talking to Marla about weeds, basically, a definition of a weed could be it's a plant that a gardener doesn't want where it is, period,
Right.
beginning and end.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Go ahead and move that plant.
Okay, my question is to the gardener.
Barbara Short is a serious gardener here who's grows all. Go ahead, Barbara. Speak to weeds.
Okay, what was the what can you state the question again, Marla, about weeds?
Yes, well, about the weeds, they're all in our yard right now, and they love it there too.
Well, yeah,
weeds for the gardener to come and pull them out.
Well, weeds are a response.
Pardon?
Weeds are a response. Weeds fill a niche either in the soil or for themselves. Some weeds are just selfish and greedy, but so when there's a void, weeds come because they are part of the ecosystem, and their roots are adding nutrients, they're creating connections, they're providing habitat for insects or whatnot. And and you can pull them because you can replace them with something else and nurture that other thing. But if there is a void, a weed will fill it because there wants to be this interrelated interaction there in the life of the soil and the little micro ecosystem of your yard or whatever it is, your pot on your porch, So you can either accept the weeds, but sometimes they're problematic, right? They might have spiny things or they're getting all in places, they're sending their seed to places you don't want them to be. Or you pull them and you fill that void. You nurture it, you plant more grass, or you plant other plants. Does that help?
Yes, it does.
Or an old saw for gardeners is that nature abhors a vacuum, which is what Barbara is talking about, empty spaces.
Yes. So that's why in this exercise, we put seeds in the hole. because we got to replace the old idea that was negative and difficult with something positive and better.
And that old idea, I'm just going to add that weed of an idea, it not only filled a void, but it was serving some sort of purpose to help the ecosystem develop, right?
The ecosystem, which could be called the ego system.
The ego system. There you go, Desda. And so, but now that it has done its thing and you don't need that anymore because your awareness is in a new place, you can remove that weed. Thank you for doing your job and plant something new.
Yeah. And nothing is ever destroyed. It simply returns to source. And it's valuable, ongoing, Well, this has been fun. Little detour into the garden world. I'm always up for that. I love it. I love gardening. And I struggle with my clay soil. Okay. Marla's got another comment.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So if I've been offered a TV series, do you think I should take that? It puts me in a position where I have to actually be around a bunch of people again. And I've been really cultivating the weeds of keeping people away and being able to be, yeah, yes. But this is one that is being offered on a really big level. And um, I'm trying to today actually making the phone calls to be able to set up the interviews that need to take place in order to be a part of it. And I'm having struggling with it in what you said, what our jobs are. So my job, for many years at different points in life has been to be in a place where I can offer the Fairfax streetcar you were in at Desda, you know what I'm talking about, people a chance to show what they had wanted. Beautiful piece of work there. But this is on the AOC, Ace of Cups, and wanting to end the 60s and all of the drug addictions that were going on and all the giant stars like Jimi Hendrix and Janis Joplin, all those guys, that I actually was good friends with over the years. And I don't know if I want to go back in there. And who am I anyway? We have come as a spark, and there's the body in our mother's amniotic fluid, and we grow this body, and there we are, and we come out and we take our first breath, and we're imprinted with this field that we have to navigate through. Since from day one we shape our words. As you can see, we have a different language than anybody else if you're speaking English. So my question is, do I want to go through the huge, giant terror that's going to go worldwide, which would come up if I participated, or would I like to just rest and be with the weeds in my garden?
Well, that's a big decision to be confronted with. And
yes, and I have that.
Yeah. And in, it, there's pros and cons, but I think the biggest question really is, what does your soul want to do?
That's why I'm here. Take it, Desda.
You're welcome. So, just being yourself gives you an opportunity to reminisce, to share. But more important than that, Marla, really is to bring some wisdom forward. Like what did it matter? What was the point? And I think that's something that's true for every single person here. It's like, how does your life matter? And what did you learn? Because that's the key. And did that learning enliven you and bring you forward to a more spiritually awakened place? Or did it destroy you and beat you down? And if it did, how did you come back from that? So
I love you right now, Desda. I love you.
I love you back. It's
go, keep going.
So lifting the message of your life up and holding it out as an offering to humanity, it's in many ways the best gift that any of us can give. It's the gift that great writers give. And great painters, great musicians. They hold up their pain and their sorrow, their suffering, and their lessons, and they share them so that you and I can benefit from the journey of other people. I mean, when Joseph Campbell wrote his, great works about the hero's journey, he was really talking about someone like you, Marla, who walked through the fire, who, had stuff happen that was good, bad, and ugly, and came through to the other side, a hero in your own life, so that you're able to say, and this is who I am now, and this is why I am who I am, and this is the love that I share. This is the spirit, the essence. I wish you luck in your decision, my dear. I know whatever decision you make will be perfect and right. And how lovely that you're getting an opportunity like this. How lovely. Yeah. I didn't hear that last comment, but it looks like it was good.
It's 80 years old. Oh my God.
80 years old. Oh my God. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
We're all
Give my love to Bobby, okay?
I will. And if we're all lucky, we make it to 80 years old. If we're all fortunate enough, we get there. And hopefully with most of our marbles intact. Don't need them all, but most of them.
80 years old with 55-year-old children who you still consider children.
That's a good one, Elizabeth. All right. Well, I've really enjoyed our conversation today. Thank you all for being here. We've got a Sangha happening on Sunday. If you guys want to come and join us, finding yourself in these trying times was the best I could do for a topic. I'm not sure where it will lead us, but we'll do some of those fun things, and hopefully it will lift your spirits. And it's just a half an hour, and it's totally free. So I hope you will join me on June 14th, which is Sunday, 10 a.m. Pacific. Until then, I look forward to all of my students who I see regularly. I'm looking forward to you all, my beautiful deep dive students, my beautiful practitioner students, and I'm looking forward to all the people in the Legacy Library coming to the Energies class tomorrow. All right, much love to each one of you. Thank you for attending. Kirsten, Rita, Barbara, Megan, Janice, Elizabeth, Barbara, Eliza, Ridza, Abby, Elise, Ghislaine, Marla, Clyde, and always Cheryl, thank you for your help today. And Bobby Z, thank you for being there. Take care, everybody. Blessings and love. Take a deep breath. Let it slide. We'll see you later.